The original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her.
Say it louder so your other eye can hear you.
She's now bragging about the success of Snow White, which is a movie that's going to lose hundreds of millions of dollars, and mainly because of her, and because nobody wanted to support her.
Did Disney just quietly bury Snow White and everything that was supposed to come after? For nearly a century, Snow White has been more than just a fairy tale. It's the cornerstone of an entertainment empire, the story that Walt Disney himself poured his heart and soul into, the animation that defined a genre. But now, a chilling question hangs in the air. Whispers of doubt have turned into a roar of controversy. Dark clouds are gathering over the once pristine fairy tale kingdom. And some are daring to suggest that the magic, the very essence of Disney's enchantment, might be fading, perhaps even gone for good. Forget the promise of happily ever after. Could this be a dramatic, unexpected finale before the next chapter even has a chance to begin? Is this the end of the fairy tale as we know it?
That despite my flaws, and despite my cracks and my breaks, and there are many of them,
she's a good actress,
that at every premiere and everything I do, people will wait in line to see.
The ego on this girl is ridiculous.
Wow.
Rewind to the initial announcement, the moment when the live-action Snow White project was first unveiled. A collective gasp of excitement rippled through the entertainment world and beyond. Imagine the potential, a beloved classic reimagined with cutting-edge visuals, enriched storytelling, and a fresh perspective for a new generation. The prospect of seeing this timeless tale reborn on screen sparked a wave of nostalgia and fervent anticipation. Fans, young and old, eagerly awaited casting announcements, production details, and glimpses into how Disney would weave its magic once more to bring this cherished story to vibrant life. It felt like a guaranteed triumph, another blockbuster in the making, a seamless continuation of Disney's fairy tale legacy, destined to enchant audiences worldwide.
And to everyone who hates when I win, the winged victory came to the Louvre in pieces, and people still line up to see her. And I can only hope that despite my flaws, and despite my cracks and my breaks, and there are many of them.
However, beneath the surface of initial enthusiasm, subtle tremors of unease began to register. The first hints of discord emerged in online forums and industry circles. Casting decisions, while initially celebrated by some, sparked debates and dissenting voices. Rumors regarding creative clashes behind the camera began to circulate, painting a picture of potential friction and diverging visions. Leaked set photos and early unofficial reports offered glimpses that didn't quite resonate with the idealized fairy tale imagery etched in collective memory. A subtle shift occurred in the public mood. The initial optimism began to erode, replaced by a growing sense of apprehension, a nagging feeling that perhaps this venture might not be the flawless, guaranteed success everyone had initially envisioned. A quiet disquiet started to settle in, whispering questions about the direction of the project.
Jonah Platt, whose father helped produce the latest Snow White film, had some very harsh words for star Rachel Zegler.
For context, Variety wrote a report recently titled Inside Disney's Snow White Fiasco, Death Threats, Beefed Up Security, and a Social Media Guru for Rachel Zegler. Evie Magazine wrote on X, when you compare how Rachel Zegler spoke about Snow White to how other actresses who played live-action Disney princesses spoke about their character, really underlines just how poorly she carried herself.
Then came the interviews, the turning point that dramatically altered the narrative. Rachel Zegler, the actress entrusted with the iconic role of Snow White, began to articulate her perspectives on the original animated film, its underlying themes, and her interpretation of the character for the modern remake. Her words, seemingly intended to inject contemporary relevance and empower the protagonist, inadvertently triggered a seismic reaction across the internet and traditional media. Instead of fostering excitement, her comments ignited a fierce and often polarizing debate. The conversation abruptly veered away from simple anticipation for a remake and plunged into complex territories of cultural sensitivity, respect for classic narratives, and the delicate balance between modernization and preservation. For many, the remarks felt like a departure from the spirit of the original tale, sparking concerns about the core values being represented. Online forums and social media platforms became battlegrounds as opinions clashed and the internet ignited with passionate, often critical discourse.
I'll quickly mention this. The son of Snow White producer Mark Platt, Jonah Platt is the son's name, he is speaking out publicly against Rachel Zegler and blaming her for the film's catastrophic failure at the box office.
The release of the official trailer was intended to be a triumphant moment, a visual feast designed to quell any lingering doubts and reignite fervent anticipation. Instead, it seemed to inadvertently amplify the existing anxieties and fan the flames of discontent. The aesthetics, the overall tone conveyed, and certain creative choices showcased in the trailer failed to connect with a significant segment of the audience as hoped. What was envisioned as a dazzling preview, a tantalizing glimpse into a reimagined fairy tale world, became yet another point of contention, further solidifying pre-existing concerns. For many viewers, the trailer served as visual confirmation of their apprehensions, suggesting a potential deviation from the cherished essence of Snow White, deepening the divide between Disney's vision and audience expectations. The promotional material, rather than building excitement, seemed to inadvertently solidify the growing negative sentiment surrounding the project.
It's no longer 1937, and we absolutely wrote a Snow White
that is
not going to be saved by
You
the
wrote
prince.
it?
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can.
The online sphere erupted. Social media platforms transformed into arenas for fervent debate and impassioned pronouncements. Hashtags related to the film and its controversies soared to trending status, dominating online conversations. The public reaction transcended mere critique. It morphed into a full-blown digital inferno. Calls for boycotts reverberated across the internet, fueled by a potent mix of frustration, disappointment, and a sense of perceived betrayal of a beloved classic. The initial dream of a harmonious, universally embraced fairy tale remake shattered, replaced by a tumultuous digital firestorm that cast a long, ominous shadow over the entire endeavor. Disney found itself confronted with a level of intense, widespread online backlash that few in the industry had anticipated, a stark demonstration of the power of collective online opinion in the modern age. Amidst this escalating online upheaval, Disney adopted a posture of striking, almost deafening silence. No official statements were issued to address the mounting criticism, no public defenses of the creative direction were offered, and no visible attempts were made to assuage the rising tide of negativity. This conspicuous lack of response prompted widespread speculation. Was it a meticulously calculated strategy? A gamble that the storm of online fury would eventually dissipate on its own? Or did this silence signify something deeper, something more indicative of internal turmoil and uncertainty? Some industry observers pondered whether the quietude was a manifestation of internal disarray, a reflection of executive-level indecision, and perhaps even a growing lack of conviction in how to effectively navigate this unprecedented public relations crisis. The absence of communication became a narrative in itself, fueling further speculation and intensifying the sense of unease surrounding the project's fate.
I mean, journalists weren't even invited to show up at the red carpet for the premiere because they were afraid she was going to say something that would hurt the movie even more.
Envision the atmosphere within the upper echelons of Disney's headquarters. Behind the polished facades and corporate gloss, imagine emergency meetings convened, high-stakes discussions unfolding. Executives gathered in hushed conference rooms, the glow of monitors illuminating their faces, displaying real-time social sentiment analysis, trending hashtags highlighting the film's controversies, and plummeting public approval metrics. Were crisis management strategies being frantically formulated? Were urgent directives being issued to reassess marketing approaches, or even reconsider fundamental creative choices? The external silence emanating from Disney likely masked a whirlwind of intense activity occurring internally, a frantic scramble to contain the escalating damage and salvage a project that had unexpectedly veered into turbulent waters. The pressure was immense, the stakes were extraordinarily high, and the ticking clock of public opinion amplified the urgency of the situation.
Bliss of total stupidity and narcissism. Look at the bliss. On some level, it's got to be a blessing to just be so smooth-brained.
And then, from the depths of online forums and industry whispers emerged a far more dramatic and unsettling possibility. Rumors, initially dismissed as mere speculation, began to gain traction, fueled by anonymous online postings and purported insider accounts. These whispers suggested that Disney might be contemplating a drastic, almost unthinkable measure, shelving future Snow White endeavors entirely. Could they actually be considering canceling planned sequels, abandoning spin-off projects, or even halting further development within the Snow White cinematic universe? This once unfathomable notion began to circulate with increasing frequency, gaining credibility in certain circles, driven by the sheer momentum of negative publicity and the perceived reputational risk associated with the current trajectory. A metaphorical cancellation cloud, heavy with uncertainty and potential repercussions, loomed ominously over the fairy tale franchise, casting a pall over its future prospects.
I mean, he's totally right. Now, of course, as we covered, the movie is terrible anyway in its own right. It was probably going to underperform regardless. People are tired of the soulless cash grab remake thing.
The implications of this controversy extend far beyond the fate of a single film. The fallout from the Snow White backlash could potentially generate ripple effects throughout Disney's entire princess portfolio and its broader approach to adapting classic animated properties. Are other live-action remakes currently in development now facing heightened scrutiny and internal reevaluation? Will studio executives reassess their strategies for reimagining beloved stories, perhaps adopting a more cautious or conservative approach in the future? The stakes have become significantly elevated, transcending the immediate concerns surrounding Snow White. This situation is evolving into a critical litmus test, a high-profile case study for how Hollywood studios navigate the complexities of fan expectations, cultural sensitivities, and the ever-present risk of online backlash when attempting to modernize and reinterpret cherished narratives for contemporary audiences.
The movie has all kinds of problems that could be pinned partly on the producer. Like, the producer did not do a good job. Nobody who produced this movie did a good job.
The entire Hollywood ecosystem is observing Disney's every move with intense scrutiny, meticulously analyzing the digital tea leaves, and dissecting the potential long-term ramifications of this unfolding situation. This controversy is rapidly becoming a masterclass in the formidable power of online collective opinion and the astonishing speed with which a seemingly promising project can be derailed by a confluence of public sentiment and social media dynamics. Studios across the industry are undoubtedly taking copious notes, extracting valuable lessons from Disney's predicament regarding the inherent risks and potential rewards associated with reimagining iconic classics in an era of hyperconnectivity and amplified public voice. The insights gleaned from this case study could profoundly reshape how films are conceptualized, cast, marketed, and ultimately released for years to come, influencing studio strategies and creative decision-making across the entertainment landscape.
Snow White's budget was around $240 to $270 million. It has made $43 million domestically so far and around $84 million globally per Box Office Pro.
So, did the Disney CEO truly issue a decree to cancel all future Snow White films? As of now, official confirmation remains elusive, shrouded in corporate silence and speculative pronouncements. However, the core question that emerges from this tumultuous saga is far more profound than the immediate fate of one particular franchise. Has this unprecedented controversy irrevocably altered the fairy tale landscape? Has the intangible magic that once defined Disney's storytelling prowess been fractured, perhaps even broken beyond repair? Or is there a path forward, a way for Disney and indeed for the broader entertainment industry to learn from these missteps, to recalibrate their approach, and ultimately to recapture the enchanting essence that captivated generations and reignite the enduring allure of fairy tale narratives in a rapidly evolving world? The future of Snow White, and perhaps the very future of fairy tale films as a cultural phenomenon, hangs precariously in the balance, awaiting the next chapter in this unfolding drama. But what's truly driving this intense backlash? Is it solely about Rachel Zegler's comments, or is there something deeper at play? Some argue it's a clash of generations, a resistance to reimagining beloved classics for a modern audience. Others point to a growing fatigue with Disney's relentless remake strategy, a sense that originality is being sacrificed for familiar narratives. Could it be a combination of factors, a perceived disrespect for the original material, anxieties about cultural shifts, and a general sense of remake fatigue, all converging to create this perfect storm of online outrage? Unpacking the why behind the backlash reveals a complex web of motivations, suggesting this isn't just about one actress's words, but a broader cultural conversation about legacy, adaptation, and the evolving relationship between studios and their audiences. Amidst the roaring chorus of criticism, a quieter counter-narrative has begun to emerge, though it's often drowned out by the louder voices. Some defend Zegler's right to express her views, arguing for a more nuanced understanding of her intentions. Others point to the potential benefits of modernizing classic tales, making them more relevant and empowering for contemporary audiences. A few industry commentators have even suggested that the online outrage is being amplified by certain groups with agendas beyond simple film criticism. While these voices are less prominent, they offer a reminder that the situation isn't entirely black and white. Is it possible that amidst the firestorm, valid points are being overlooked? Is there a chance that the complete picture is more complex than the dominant online narrative suggests? This whisper of defense, though faint, hints at the possibility of alternative interpretations and a more multifaceted reality behind the headlines. Now, Disney stands at a critical fork in the road. What will their next move be? Do they double down, pushing forward with their current vision, hoping to weather the storm and eventually win audiences over? Do they attempt a course correction, subtly altering marketing strategies or even making last-minute creative adjustments to appease some of the criticism? Or could they consider an even more radical option, a strategic retreat, quietly shelving future projects and refocusing their energies elsewhere? History offers some clues. Studios have navigated controversies before, sometimes successfully, sometimes not. Disney's response in the coming weeks and months will be crucial, not just for the fate of Snow White, but for the future of their entire fairy tale empire. Will they find a way to recapture the magic, or will this controversy mark a turning point, a moment where the fairy tale giant stumbles, forced to confront the evolving dynamics of audience expectations and the potent force of online opinion in the 21st century? The answer remains unwritten, but the world is watching, waiting to see which path Disney will choose.